What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle Age Gamer and this is the 2023 Tokyo Marui URG-I Block 3 MWS GBBR review. Okay, so before we begin, usual disclosure ahead, this is an airsoft toy, this is not a real firearm. There are no real firearms in this video or in any of my videos. I bought this with my own money, so these are my own opinions based off my own experience and financial investment with this airsoft toy. So take all that as you wish, and with that, let's jump in. Okay, so let's start by asking ourselves, what is the URG-I? Apart from stating the obvious as another military M4, the URG-I stands for Upper Receiver Group Improved. It was the official project name given to it by the United States Army Special Operations Command under the Block 3 program. Upon adoption, it would become to be known as the Mark 16 Block 3. All of this is in response to the Block 2/Mark 18. Basically, as the Special Forces and Army, I would say, special units were using the Mark 18, they were realizing straight away, like everything in the military, that they're always two steps behind the civilian market. But also, the Mark 18 was becoming a financial burden to the armorers and that. It was a bit of a nightmare. You'd go out for one mission, because of the 10.3-inch barrel and the way it's gassed, it's so overgassed that basically it started to eat itself very, very quickly. You wouldn't get a high round count on those guns without replacing parts. That and the gigantic quad rail system, which was beautiful to look at, and it still is one of the most iconic weapons in the M4 family. But that quad rail is more like a cheese grater. And even in the civilian market, at the time that the Mark 18 hit the shelves, there was already key mod starting, and M-Lock was just coming on the scene, which would rapidly take over. And so the USOC, or you want to call it a USA SOC, basically started the program for the Green Berets and Special Forces under the project name of URG-I. So, with that bit of backstory out the way, let's do what we always do. Let's zoom in and start at the rear. Okay, so starting at the rear, we have the Magpul SRT stock. This is the most recent stock on the rifle. The original one that would go on this rifle in 2014 was the B5 SOT mod, but as that was too big for CQB, many of them swapped out to the Magpul MOE, and then in 2020 we got the SRT. Now, the SRT features a lovely hard rubberized butt pad, which is removable for replacement as it wears down, which they inevitably do. You do get a QD sling mount that is reversible. It came on the left initially. I've swapped it to the right because I'm right-handed and I like my slings to connect here on this side and on the left at the front. Now you do get your ambidextrous adjustment lever, which is quite nice, allows you to lock it in. As you noticed, the lock releases when you push the lever, but when you want it locked in place, hit that and this stock is not going anywhere. I do love the compromise they made between the B5 and the MOE. It's kind of like the middle ground in its width. It gives you enough cheek weld for the 20-inch barrel DMR versions, the 14-inch, and it's not too wide for the 11.5, which this one is, to give you, I would say, comfortability and maneuverability, which is what it's all about. Obviously, that's mounted to the Tokyo Marui MWS buffer tube and the barrel, I should say castle nut, which is great. Moving on down, we get to the A2 grip. Now, one thing I do want to clarify, and it's something that I've seen a heck of a lot in comments, is people always complaining about the A2 grip coming in the box. First of all, this is how the Army ordered it. How Tokyo Marui make their weapons is exactly how it will come out of the crate when the armor receives its delivery. Not how the Special Forces individual has custom tailored his rifle to his or she, because we're not promoting individuals, we're promoting the weapon, and it's all about that, and that's how the Army order them, so that's what you get. And I think Garanthem has it right. Don't be a bitch. You spend more time complaining about that, you're not worried about the anti-freedom pills coming at you. So yeah, don't worry. If you want to swap it out, go right ahead. It's very cheap to do so these days. from 15 to 20 quid. You can put an MOE or any other form of grip on there, BCM, you name it. In Airsoft, it's quite easy, and it is just a mil-spec AR-15 grip. Now, moving on up, as you can see here, we have the straight M4A1, I would say, trigger guard, which is great for the summer and the autumn, but as the winter comes in, if you're using the wintered padded gloves, then you might find it a bit restrictive, but you can always replace that part, again, at about 4 or 5 quid for a BCM, and it'll fit, or a Noveski or something like that style trigger guard, nice enlarged. The trigger is a standard single stage, so if I do that, there is no BBs in the weapon, we can show clear, and just to show in here, there's none there, again, nothing in chamber, close that. It is an airsoft toy at the end of the day, but if we hold that down, you can show how it feels. Now, there is a slight little bit of take-up. Let's see if I can get that for you. You can see it goes to the wall. You got a 3-4 millimeter travel to the end, and you do go right to the back. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 to reset, and a 5th to go a little bit further fast. As you can tell, it's a nice audible, tactile reset. Now, as you can see, moving on from there, we'll get to the fire selector. It's a standard M4A1 fire selector. So you have your safe, semi, and fun mode, which is quite nice. Obviously, like all gas blowbacks, you can't switch it to safe unless the hammer is cocked, but you can nicely do it. It does lock into place. It's quite nice. You do have your bolt hold open / release here. And you do have your magazine, which is, again, it's all standard M4A1 parts for that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The magwell, as you can see, is the M4A1 angled magwell. That allows it not only to fit the standard GI spec, but the various amounts of PMAG, as it's not really a standardized thing. Okay, PMAGs do come in very slight dimension changes and round counts and so on. And for feed and reliability, they angled the mag with the M4A1, and that stayed on there, including through the Mark 18 phase. Now, while we're here on the receiver part, let's go up to the top. As you can see, it is a Geisley charging handle, which is ambidextrous. It's quite nice, and it does its job very well. It's easy to pull, and because of the curve like this, as you pull the gun up, your gear doesn't hook onto it, which is really good. I do like that. It does feature Geisley's little excess bit here that stops any of in the real steel gas coming out, and in Airsoft the same. I've had it so many times where gas has come out the rear a little bit, as you do get a little bit overgassed, especially in the colder weather or when you mag dump, and you don't get it shooting back into your eye, which is irritating. So that's great, and I do like that feature. Now, while we're here, you can see it does have the M4A1 Picatinny top, which is monolithic and goes the entire length of the gun, as you can see. And that's really nice. Now, fitted to this is what they call their improved battle sight, part of the URG-I program. So, what does that mean? Well, as you can see here, have windage adjustment on the back here, and it's nice and flip up, but as you can see with mine, it's nice and tight, so you have to really flip it up hard. Move that across, and then it'll lock down and in. What was I saying? Yeah, then you've got your range here, so you can, once you've got your front sight pro set for 200 meters from 0 to 200, you can then change the increments like so. Not that Airsoft is ever going to get to 200 meters. It's just nice to have that realism there. Now, let's move on to the handguard. As you can see, the handguard features the Geisley, what we know in the civilian market nowadays as the Geisley Super Duty handguard, but it really is the URG-I. As you can see here, you just get your product serial number engraved into it. Speaking of other engravings, you do have the official M4A1 receiver markings, which are great. And that's about it. Now, if you do see one with the markings on this side and on the other side, then you know it's using a aftermarket and it's not correct for the military, as you would say, because the military like to have things less marked. The only time I've seen markings here is if they put a rack number on there, which would be on that side, and then they'd mark another one here on the upper receiver. Again, it does vary depending on armorer and base and so on and rules, but that's the experience I've had. Now, as you can see, You do have 2 grub screws here, and this does wrap around the upper receiver, so it holds in place, as well as 2 bolts that go right the way through the barrel nut. This is rigid, it isn't going anywhere, and it's quite a lovely design. You do have your sling point here on the front. It's ambidextrous because it's on both sides, and M-lock on the 3, 6, and 9, and the in-between, which is really good. Now, part of the URG-I, I would say, on the real steel was the barrel, and that was a Daniel Defense cold hammer forged. Tokyo Marui have done a really good, replication of the shape of that barrel, but for the 11.5 inch variant. And it does have a 14mm counterclockwise thread. As you can see, here's my front sight post, which just flips up, and you've got the adjustable little wheel there to adjust for elevation. Now, obviously at the front, this does come with the URG-I flash hider, which is a 4-prong and features the QD mount there. I think it's Surefire if I remember rightly. Obviously, most people will take this off and whack on the can of their choice, or tracer unit of their choice, which is perfectly fine. As you can see, I've mounted a PEC 15 and pressure switch. Now, flipping it over, like I say, nice and clean, unmarked. You've got your bolt going through, and just like I said on all the others, you can see the tiny gap there, which all MWSs have. It's either more or less, depending on the model of the M4 that they're trying to replicate. As for other markings, you do have your Tokyo Marui product marking that has to be on this for law, but you do have the markings in case you want to swap out the fire selector to an ambi one, which again, you can do. Same with the sling plate. If you want to add one, you can do it. It takes 5 minutes of work. The forward assist does actually work on the Tokyo Marui guns. It's really cool, that feature to have. It's nice to have and not need. So, with that being said, let's take this out to the range and let's see what she can do. Okay, I'm using 0.2 gram BBs and green gas. Okay, so now we've got that on. Let's see what that's an average of. So, on green gas, with the first one being a miss, we have an average of 315 FPS, high of 320, which is not bad. Okay, so let's take it back to about 10 meters, which is your average CQB, and let's test the grouping size. Thumb scale, it's 6 inches by 6. I would say that's 1.5 inches from the widest point. Not bad. Okay, so let's try the Texas Star now, and let's see how many it takes to clear that. Let's step it back to 10 meters again, and let's see what we're doing. Okay, got a little bit trigger happy at the end, but not that many. Very, very good. Okay, wow, that went well. As you can see here, we've got our target from outside. Now if I get my little tape measure out, let's have a look. So, 1.5 inches to here, 1.5 inches to there, 1.5 inches to there. So, yeah, 1.5 inch group size, stock with the same internals out the box. That's bloody awesome. Again, TM just knock it out the park when it comes to that. So, absolutely amazed. Now, let's go over the internals. This should be quite quick, as I've done the internals before on MWS with the Noveski, so let's see what they've done here. Now, as always, you've got the MWS internals, this being the genuine deal, as you would say. You can see here, they've gone for, skirmishability and reliability over the realism side of a VFC mil-spec style internal. Now, that's not a bad thing at all. So, if I look at what you've done, you can see here, you have your bolt stop. Now I can flip that up you can just about make out the hook, which has been redesigned over the M4A1, the CQB variant, and all the other, I would say, MWS platforms. They've done it all the way up to the Mark 18, which introduced this more steeper curved angle to the hook, which is great. But let's go over what's steel. So your trigger, not steel. Bolt stop, not steel. Mag release, not steel. And your fire selector is not steel. Your pins are steel. Your hammer, roller, steel. Z-plate, steel. Sear and hammer itself, no, but the pin and the bits that's in there and supports are. Firing pin, not steel, doesn't need to be. What needs to be is that. Now, people will always say, how can I say this? So if I show you, like, this is steel, but people always say that this needs to be steel. No, all this does is lift it up. So if I slap that in, as you can see, there's no BBs in there at all. There's no risk of it going off. But as you can see, all this does is pull it up. Now what that does is make it secure so that as the bolt rides over it, it's not going to push it out the way under force. It will guarantee to lock in. All that has to do is lift it up. It doesn't need to be steel because it's not engaging on this part. So removing that, you can find that's great. Your takedown pins are steel, just to let you know there, which is, it's great. Like I say, everything that needs to be steel is, what's not, doesn't need to be. And the good thing is, with Double Eagle doing what they've done, and the fact that this is over 10 years of aftermarket support, if you want to swap any of those to steel, it's 5-minute work, done. Very easy to do. So that I will leave up to you. Obviously, we go to the buffer. You do have your standard polymer buffer and spring from all the MWSs. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. When we talk to the bolt, it's the, again, standard MWS bolt. I haven't greased this at all since it came. This is how it came from the factory. It's had over 3,000 rounds through it. As you can see, the general wear and tear, that usually happens within the first few rounds and it stays exactly like that. As it goes for steel, your roller and pin are steel. Your spring is steel for your nozzle return. The bolt is not, and neither's the tail weight. Okay, you do get the buffered part here. As it slams back, it will get knocked into there. You can see where it's worn the grease, etc., which is fine. Oh, so get that on the top for you. So yep, you do have that, and everything seems good. And you do have your little spring-loaded locking lugs, which allow the nozzle to penetrate deeper inside the hot chamber, which is awesome. Now, as you can see, this is pretty much a standard MWS bolt and a lovely piece of kit. Nice return, nice positive, really good. Now, the magazines that come, standard MWS Gen 2 mags, which are fine, as you can see, forgive my oily hands. These are 35 round mags, and they hold around about 2 full mags of BBs on 1 charge of gas, which is fine. You may find a little bit less when it comes to winter time, but that's as to be expected. And if you see your FPS drop quite considerably in the cold, just up the gas to Neutral 3.0 and you will be fine. But only use that in extremes. I will give that as a caveat. I don't want people shouting at me going, I brought my gun. Okay. But as you can see, for hop-wise, you've got the 2-piece hop chamber. The part with the actual hop, the bucking, and the barrel is inside the outer barrel here at the front with the loading chamber. And then you have a separate piece here, which features a small little ratcheted wheel that you use to adjust. Again, you got 1.5-inch grouping at 10 meters with 0.2 gram BBs. It's the same with 2.5s. I have used 2.5s through this and it does hop it no problem. The bucking in this will hop 2s, 2.5s, 2.8s, no problem all day long. 3s, you will get to 10 meters, 20 meters tops, and then you'll start to see it really drop. That's going to be up to you. I would highly suggest if you're running heavy BB weights to maybe swap out the bucking to a more suitable one for the BB weight you're using. And if you want the FPS to go back up again a little bit, then swap out the inner barrel to a tight bore and you'll be fine. Now, charging handle, standard MWS Z charging handle, so it's not the full length mil spec, it's about 1 inch too short, but it will work in any MWS platform. So yes, you can put this in the Noveski, you can put it in your old M4s, you choose, you can mess around with this. So again, with this now all disassembled, let's reassemble it and go over our final thoughts. Okay, so now that we've got it all reassembled, before we go over our final thoughts, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It really does help this channel out a lot. And if you would like, please leave a like, comment, etc. and share the video with your friends. If you want to go one step further, the YouTube thanks button does work on this channel, and it does go a long way to helping us out. The YouTube thanks is basically YouTube's way of buy me a copy sort of thing, and you can donate to the channel as you see fit. You don't have to, there's no obligation to that. All I ask is that you at least consider subscribing to this channel. So with that now out of the way, final thoughts. What do I think of the URG-I Block 3, or the Mark 16 as it's known? It's a bloody good out the box rifle, ready to go skirmish. You already get a Magpul stock, which is what you'll probably put on this anyway, so you get a great stock. You're going to change out the pistol grip for most people. For me, it doesn't bother me. I'll just adapt my style to shoot any rifle. I'm not bothered, which is really good. You get a great handguard. You've got great C-clamp ability. As you can see, I set mine up with the PEC with the switch on the top because I can easily C-clamp it. You can put anything you want on there and set it up however you want. The choice is open to you. The fact that Marui has over a decade of aftermarket support by a lot of the major, or if not all of the major, manufacturers out there, whether it's Garda, Lilacs, Mastermods, Bamftech, Unicorn, the list goes on. You can basically purchase a load of upgrades and keep this thing going all day long for a long time to come. And if you're part of the family, purchasing mags allowing you to buy many MWS weapons and use the mags interchangeably is awesome. So that's kind of cool as well. But yeah, I highly recommend it. When it comes to accuracy, 1.5 inch grouping, it answers itself. That's bloody amazing. For out-the-box performance, I've never seen sort of like that consistency and quality without me having to make minor adjustments constantly to keep it, in line, etc. It's just great. I love that. And like I say, it feels lightweight, but it's nice. It's not too light. It's not too heavy. And that's another important factor for skirmishing, especially in CQB, when you're knocking out games, half-an-hour games, constantly back-to-back. Weight is a big thing, so it's really good and a definite recommendation. And the final is the price. Now, in this competition, you do have the GHK URG-I 2023 Standard coming in at £850 here in the UK, and the forged edition of said rifle from GHK, which will only accept forged receiver parts. You have to make sure they are for the forged one and not the standard. That'll set you back almost £1,600 to £2,000, depending on your retailer of choice. And that's a lot of money for an airsoft toy. I'm sorry, it really is. VFC, being the next one down on the list, as you would say, that do a URG-I. They've done their new Gen 3, which phenomenal weapon, but comes with, well, just like GHK, the VFC comes with a B5 SOP mod stock, so you're going to need to purchase a stock on top, but they retail for around about $650 for the Gen 3 gun, and then your stock on top. So you're spending a lot of money already on theirs. So yeah, coming in at £630 in the setup that you see here without obviously the red dot and the PEQ is a bloody good price. You know, it's not going to cost you much for a grip, like say 10 to 20 quid depending on the manufacturer, and you're sorted. You have a perfect gun, as you would say, a perfect airsoft toy, whatever you want to call it. So price-wise, it's also amazing. So for me, I really love it. I think this is a really great option, especially if you like me, who like to go out and skirmish airsoft on a regular basis. If you just like to hang it on the wall and you just want to look, then go for one of the others. You're going to spend a lot more and look at it, but you're not going to use it as much. Whereas this, you can just keep going. As you can see, stock grease, stock everything inside it, and it's still running 3,500 rounds in. So, yeah, I'm pretty content with this. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below, so please let me know. As always, I've been the Middle-Aged Gamer. You guys have been awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.